too. That's considered positive as well. But I wouldn't want anyone to go away thinking if we end up building middle school here, somehow we're going to make these completely different demographically looking schools. But the boundaries may not be contiguous when we end up with them, but demographics will be a major factor in how we're drawn.
Thank you, Chris. Number 8, please. Number 8.
Changing I live at 88 to Sunday Drive. Now, I have a couple of questions to you, gentlemen. I have a problem with this particular document. It said over here that softball field may be lost. What does it mean, may be lost? And what about the soccer field? I look put it this way. Last afternoon, I mean, yesterday, I was walking here and I saw a little picture. Kids playing basketball, kids playing soccer, and kids playing softball. Now you're taking away the softball field, am I correct or not? And about soccer field?
May I suggest, I heard you finished, want to make sure. Follow, sure.
In answer to how we might design a school on this property, we plan to avoid the program open space parcel, which has the softball field, so we don't get into those issues with the funding, the state funding, how it was acquired with the program open space. We would likely target the soccer field, and in a typical, in some of our more urban schools where there's not as much property, what we do is overlay a soccer field, overlay over the softball field, so you have the functionality of both, but you do not have as much recreation space. Yes, one field would be lost. It would likely be one of those for sure, but in feasibility, they would study that, and we're thinking now that it would likely be the soccer field that would be lost, and then overlay one of the softball field, so that you have function. Does that answer your question?
Do you have a follow-up?
In this case, how come it's not affected in this particular document produced by you? And lost in soccer field?
There was one error I saw there into tonight, that it said something about the softball field being lost, but it's really the soccer field, it should have said soccer field.
Thank you. How about number 9? Number 9.
Well, I've been living here since 2001, and I came over here to meet my first friend. And I have some great memories with this park, and I would not want to see it go away. And to most people, this is a stress reliever. Am I not right? Right. This is a stress reliever. And if we take away this park, that's going to be more stress to us. And if we build a school, that is hurting the environment. Am I not right? We need this park for our mental health, so we can take our minds off of what everyday worries and all that kind of stuff. And we also do not want the school, because it will be hurting the environment. And I personally, I would hate to see this park go. I come here every day, I live right across the street, and I made some great memories, and that's all.
Thank you.
My name is Jeremy Marcus. I live on Ross Road, just the other side of Grub. I've been here since 2003. I have 2 young girls, aged 5 and 2. And I have a comment or even a plea and a question. And my plea is for that nothing that comes out of this dialogue, this discussion, cause the timeline to have to slip. As has been said, there's a need now for schools. The schools are overcrowded, they're going to get worse. And very much whether the site is here or somewhere else, we'd like to see there be a new middle school in the cluster so that my daughters, as they're going through school, do not have to go to an overcrowded, far away middle school, but rather would have a new middle school that is not overcrowded and can benefit from that. My question is, perhaps, I don't know which one of you can talk about what the prospects are of either keeping the community center or having community use of the school space if it is here after school hours on weekends, so we can have some idea of how community use could possibly blend into school use.
think there's a strong chance that will be possible, and that can be worked out with the Cofield Center. As far as the timeline, we would like to get this project through the feasibility study phase, which follows site adoption by the board and action by the planning board, if they do, may adjust. We need to maintain the August 2016 opening date, put it in this capital improvements program next fall. That's the fiscal year 2013 to 18 CIP. It's a 6-year program. So our goal is by next fall to be able to include a new middle school wherever in that capital program, and that will enable it to do it in 2016.
Thank you. Number 11.
My name is Joe Zogby. I live just one house in the corner of Ross and Spencer. We can see the park from our front window, and it was one of the reasons we moved into this neighborhood in the first place. We come here, my kids come here almost every day, and we love it. That being said, I remember when I was a kid, Western and Leland merged. And I remember all the concerns at that time about the fact that there was not a middle school in this side of the cluster. And so I'm torn. I think the bottom line, which is clear, is there is a desperate need for a second middle school. And I, like the previous speaker, don't want to see any unnecessary delays. I also don't want to be somebody who, frankly, opposes the middle school just because it's in my backyard or close to my backyard. I want to do something that's right for the whole community. And the last thing I wanted to say is I've heard a lot since this process got started. And I really appreciate the way this community has come together and raised all these questions. I've heard a lot of really important questions raised. It seems to me that a lot of these questions will be addressed in the feasibility study phase. And I really look forward to participating in that. I guess what I'd say is I'm not pro-organic middle school, I'm pro-feasibility study, and that's what I'd like to see happen. And the question I wanted to raise for you folks is, if we miss that deadline for getting funding for the middle school in the fall, what happens then? How far down the road do we have to wait for the second middle school?
If we don't have the feasibility study done, the feasibility study is important because the county council requires us to get a cost estimate before we can put it in for the full design and construction funding. That's really the part of it that we need to tell the county council. If we don't have the results from that because we aren't able to do a feasibility study this spring or summer, then we would hope to do it the following school year and then put the middle school in the amended CIP the following year. So that would move it up a year to 2017. Now the county has what they call a biennial CIP. The upcoming year is the full year of the CIP, meaning any new project is perfectly valid and expected. In the off year of the CIP, which the following year will be, amendments are very limited. They have to be somewhat emergency capacity issues or whatever. So can't guarantee it would fulfill that requirement. So I would say if we don't get the site decided this spring and move on to feasibility study late this spring and summer, then it would be at least a 1-year delay and maybe a 2-year delay.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you for coming. We don't blame you for loving our park. We love our park too. And we don't blame you for wanting it. We want it too. And I think this big showing here, we put this together at the onset to save you that $100,000. Because the people who live here know that there's no feasibility for you to build a school here at our park. We have a coalition. We're up to about 40 neighbors who are opposing the middle school here at the park. We're supporting the middle school at a better location. And we would ask you to use your precious $100,000 and conduct a feasibility study in one of these other locations that would be more suitable for the middle school. You mentioned them all, I don't need to mention, but there were at least 3 that were summarily dismissed in the report, which, by the way, is extremely flawed. And you have to forgive us for not trusting that we would be included in the feasibility study because we were completely caught off guard by the report and by the fact that there was a committee working in secrecy to select our park. A committee of people people who don't even live in this neighborhood. We found out about this late on a Friday, 3 o'clock on a Friday, when the Board of Education was set to vote on Monday. And that's unacceptable, and I'm sorry that we don't trust the public school system. It's nothing against you personally, but, we don't trust that you're going to involve us in that. Right. We have these cards, the coalition, if you'd like to join us, those of you who are on the fence, we really hope you've learned a lot tonight and are willing to join us, because we are going to continue this fight. This is not a cheap land grab. They cannot come and take our land because they think we don't put up a fight. And if we're the cheapest land that they can possibly get because we're great police, they're going to take our property away from our children. It's unacceptable. Please take a card, be in touch with us. We're on Facebook even.
My name is Evan Crispin. I live on Richland Place, not very far from the park, and I'm glad to see my neighbors here tonight and hear what they have to say. I've actually had the lunch talk with you a couple of times before tonight. And what I have to say, it's always been a great help and reflected very well on the professionalism of the school system. And I'm glad he's here tonight. And I think the thing I carry in my head that he said is that there's 1,700, don't get me wrong, 1,700 kids of middle school age roughly in this cluster, 1,600. And less one will carry 1,000. So we have to make a decision about where 700 kids are going to go. And I certainly appreciate, people talk about it for Vincent Middle School. For me, it's really about the park and whether that's really the best location. And I don't think that the report that's been done makes the sale for all the respect I have for the work that you guys do. In my business, I do a lot of analysis on the money gets spent on the basis of it. And we have a saying, it's annoying, but if you didn't document it, it didn't happen. And there's too many questions that have been raised where folks have said, well, we talked about that, or we did this, or that'll be handled down the pike after the decision has been made about which site to pursue. And it just doesn't seem like a complete or credible discussion. And I guess I just have to say, it's an interesting contrast. It sits across the street from the WSSC building. Look at that on your way out. Half of the complex is a gazebo and a basketball court. That suggests to me that it's not being used to its full potential. I would contrast that with the soccer field out there. The color of that soccer field half the year is brown because it is used. They put up these big orange barriers and the soccer players show up and throw on the side. So it's rather relevant that you're projecting a facility that looks rather underused to pay something that gets used rather regularly.
Thank you.
My question really deals with the overall picture. And even at first when we look at all the sites, even though really it's not vital sites, this site appears to be located in one of the lease applications. And so my question is how, so we look at it, the decision appears to be a not in my backyard decision. Because my understanding is that there was no obligating from this neighborhood. And in fact, one of the largest sites, which was eliminated, there was a committee member who lives there. So that's really my concern, is the demographics. And how is this, Westland BCC is such a great school system, one of the best in the country. And how does this decision preserve the existing school system and its excellence? And my other question is about the traffic situation at East Highway and Greta, which is, let me go back. I live on the other side of Greta. I don't know if there are many others of us here today, but it's unpassable right now, even to get onto East Coast Highway, to make it onto 495, either at Georgia or at Connecticut. The residents can't get on. So this would add to that situation. So those are my two questions.
The site selection committee, you have a membership in the back of the report, it's Exhibit B. I don't know the addresses of all these people, and there is certainly no, conspiracy to eliminate sites by committee membership. What we did is we asked each school in the cluster, each PTA president to send a rep. So you have a Rosemary Hills rep here on the committee, cluster coordinator, and so on. And then you have the county staff who are more like experts in various fields. So it's the normal process that we use to form committees to get the parent party input, so all the PTAs are represented. As far as the demographics of this area, and it's come up again, that was not a factor in locating here. I think you thought maybe it was located here because the demographics were diverse here. It was located for all the reasons in the back page where you see that criteria and the story. And the location was important, not because of the community, but the access of a lot of students being able to walk. And that is a big plus to eliminate the busing when possible, and every other area.
Thank you. Ms. Number 15. You have a follow-up question?
I guess the question is, the representative from Rosemary Hills, where does she live?
Maybe that needs to be.
Okay. Number 15, Liz.
I'm his wife's son, live on Lanier, which is on the other side of the park, right near the park. Okay. First of all, when I read the resolution, you gotta remember how this community feels. There was a slight, they said that the park was in Chevy Chase, Maryland. You didn't even get the address right. I mean, that's something that, if anybody who had lived in the community had been on that committee would know it was in Silver Spring. Unless they changed the border, as far as I know. Okay. I looked at all the sites, and this is the only one I could come up with too. I'm going to be truthful. I mean, you look at all those sites, the traffic at the other place, whatever. However, is there any chance that there's a possibility it could not be on the field and it could be spared? It could be in the it could go up a little bit and be next to the center? And did they look at that at all? And then you could have a turnaround right on its field, so it wouldn't come into the community. It wouldn't bear on any of the green space. And you might have to do some leveling or whatever, but it might be a lot more, if it's going to happen, it might be a lot more acceptable to everybody. It'll save all this green space, except during the day the kids will be using it. And then when does the construction begin? If you do vote, what would be the date it begins?
The feasibility study, if we get there with the site, is going to be where placement of the facility on the site can be looked at, and that can be looked at. So we certainly will try to minimize the amount of impact on the field. That's the first thing to say. So that's open for discussion. Anything on the site, how to use the site, except the program open space. We probably don't want to go with that. What's the if we get into CIP, this fall, the construction would begin in the summer of 2014, in all likelihood, and it takes about 2 years to construct the middle school. So it opened in August 2016.
Okay, thank you. Number 16. Number 16.
Hi, I'm Maria Flesko. I live in Brickyard property. I was just handing them my email just in case they wanted to get in touch with me. I handed this out to a number of you. Thank you. I'm here mainly because I'm coming from away. We too, I live in the Brickyard neighborhood, we too found out about how they were taking our school site on a Thursday afternoon at 5 o'clock with the vote coming on Tuesday. At 10 in the morning, we had precisely a half hour to talk. I must say, in the 2-day notice, we filled up that room probably equivalent to something like this, or close, what the room held. We had 12 people speaking for the farmer and keeping it, or trying to table it only. And 2 that spoke for soccer. Bottom line 2, one of those happened to be on the soccer organization and the other one was on the housing commission. Bottom line, everything is muddled. What I want to do, what our community wants to do, is get back to the process. Lack of transparency, lack of process has led to a real dearth of trust. Trust. I mean, really, the truth is lost when we start making these types of things, putting a person on that isn't really in the neighborhood, not letting the neighborhood know. I honestly said it was like Egypt. I learned via a neighborhood email. But bottom line, I'm here to help you, and hopefully for you to help me. If you want to get in touch, because you will have to fight. I'll give you my email. I'll be over there. The one gentleman who said he wanted to make sure he got a voice out for the other side, I want to tell you, I've been working on this soccer for over a month. Don't worry, we're only going to hear about your other side. They're going to make the school look so great. You're going to, no matter how many of you are here, okay, bottom line, on the soccer, right now, I've got documents that show that Bethesda Cherry Chase needs 23% dirt, negative 23% on soccer field. Potomac has plus 4%. They took our school site and for recreation.
Speak out on behalf of people like me who support the idea of the school in their neighborhood. And I'm not improving the process, I think it's great, but there's real value to having a middle school close by, and a lot of people who or their children as well. Because the school system here really value having programs in elementary school so close. And then for a lot of the same reasons, having a middle school in our community would be a real plus in our plans. Obviously, our kids at the very delicate middle school age haven't been able to walk to school and close by, not 45 minutes away, and not just because they need to sleep, but issues of, where do you want your kids to go in your school, where you're hanging out here, but that's probably your house. So I think having a middle school that our kids can walk to and be close to and close to home when they attend is a huge value. And let me just say, a bunch of these comments were highlighted by some other people near where I live on Martin Court. Because there are so many kids in our neighborhood and so many kids would not be able to walk to school as it was a situation now where everyone needs to be bused, it would likely create a reduction in the number of kids using public transportation, possibly create a reduction in the amount of transportation facilities our community uses as a whole, reduce fumes and exhaust and all the things that everyone's doing about environmentally. Similarly, it would be accessible at a triple line, so kids who work there in the very few buses to school being able to take cleaner forms of transportation. I'm sorry, I'm just going to read this. Many parents in our community find it difficult to participate in Westland activities because Westland is relatively far away. As a school, middle school, we're close by, and our parents, we want those parents to be able to be much more involved in our kids' activities and their after-school activities. I remember middle school very well, very good when my parents were involved. And I know that some people are very concerned with the middle school community, but in Westland, I think with an active community like ours, the lesson somebody mentioned drug freedom. I don't know if anyone heard about this, but it's right part of our community.
Thank you. Number 8.
Community center because that's a waste of money to build another school, and we have lots of good times here, like on Q Day.
Well, like, I understand you guys want to, like, go to school up there, but we have other things in here, like tutoring, basketball, other activities, people come in here and practice and stuff like that. But, like, going to school out of there, like, outside is, like, messing up us in here because we go outside and do activities and other stuff like that. But I see why you guys want to build something out there, but we have more stuff in here than just doing this kind of stuff.
You let me finish. Wait, and if y'all take the rec down, you won't have nothing to do in the summer, so we're just gonna be standing, all a bunch of kids will be standing outside and doing
You said middle school, 45 minutes, right? Starts like at 7:05. Okay. You say 7:05 is really early. I'm in high school. I have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I have to go to school at 6:40. And our school is like, what, 10 minutes away? Okay? So I don't really find it different, okay? I have to sleep a lot earlier than middle school, so I don't really see a point of why you have to build a middle school here. I mean, they already have enough time to go to middle school. 45 minutes, it's like 20 minutes from here. Alright, and I think I'm happy because I live right there, and I was born and raised in that area, been living in here, playing soccer, playing basketball, playing football, playing any sport possible in this area. You take it down, you're gonna have a lot of kids just standing there, and next thing you know, there's obesity. What if, like, they're not gonna have any activities to do. They're gonna just stand there and possibly get fat, okay? If you want fat kids, well, go ahead, go to middle school right there, go right out, okay, alright? Because I don't know. But, I mean, it's your kids. Your kids are going to middle school, so it's your choice. If you want your kids to be active, then don't build a middle school. If you don't want your kids to be active, by all means, get a middle school there.
And my question for the county officials is, I haven't heard any talk of, we all know that Godfrey Forest Elementary is up for renovation. Why don't we have full compromise here and have the school go up, I don't know if there are height restrictions, build a 3- or 4-story addition to there, and add another addition to West. And this way divide up the middle school students among the two schools. Is that a possibility?
Proposing that the middle school be part of Rock Creek Forest. It's a site that's already involved with elementary school. It'd be very difficult to use it at the middle school on top of that, and there's not really no site size. So that would be a limitation, and it's already an operating elementary school that's needed by the community of Rock Creek Forest for the modernization there. So, and the reason we're not proposing just adding on to Weston is that would create a very large middle school, and the board does not like to go as large as 1,600 for a middle school. Programmatically, it's difficult to manage that size of enrollment, and so that's why we're hoping to find a way to do a second middle school.
Thank you.
For their comments tonight, and for really keeping this, I think, largely respectful. My concern is, I live in Rosemary Hills part of Rosemary Hills. My concern is that between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m., that's the most common time of day for kids to be involved in crime. What happens to the park, as some of the kids who have very eloquently spoken here tonight, what happens to the opportunities that are provided here on the fields and in this community centers for the children who are from lower socioeconomic families, whose parents either may not have the luxury of being home, or they may not have the luxury to pay for after-school programming. They may not have the luxury to pay for someone to drive their child to another type of facility. I would argue that the park and this community center is a protective factor. It is keeping kids safe. And I'm not arguing that a 45-minute school ride is optimal, but what happens on those buses? Those kids are forming friendships. It's keeping them safe again. So I think that if you're going to be talking about these other sites, have you considered what the demographics are around those other sites? Are they adjacent to apartments? And my last comment is that I've talked with some neighbors in Rosemary Hills we talked about how it's an economically diverse neighborhood. There are families who are talking about selling their homes and moving to Bethesda or Chevy Chase, because if they're in this cluster and they are in those higher socioeconomic status, they have the luxury to do that. And so the neighborhood and its current composition, those of us who love this neighborhood, that could possibly change. And again, this all goes to the impact of how this might change this neighborhood and crime. So what I'd like you to be able to respond to is, what would happen to this neighborhood and how do you keep kids safe?
I agree that the place will provide a lot of great opportunities for kids, but I think people are missing the opportunities that a middle school facility can provide as well. There's lots of after-hour use of our schools all over the county, basketball courts inside, lots of clubs, things that need in the school, and this school that we're built here would certainly provide opportunities. And we're not talking about taking away fields completely. We're talking about just what we need for the building, and then the parks and fields that would be left. So I think we would be able to replace the social kind of amenities that you find out in the fields.
Thank you. Number 22, please.
First of all, you have a great name. My name is Bruce Miller. Earlier, I believe it was you who discussed the issue of walking access, and students being able to walk to school. As I was sitting in my seat, I looked at this map. You're basically cutting off half of a circle. It's all blank space. If you locate a school on the border, which this essentially is, you're really saying walking access is half as important by choosing this site versus almost any, except of course if you did it here or here, but almost any place else in the area at issue. Hundreds more children would be able to walk to school. If obesity is an issue, hundreds more children would be able to walk to school. Now, the issue of good access, which is made in this wonderful chart, for this location, I have to question. East-West Highway is nearly at gridlock. Come with me at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I live right here in Rollingwood Apartments, off of East-West Highway, off of Grub and Spencer. I drive to the Giant, to the bank, etc. routinely during the day. I work for myself, I roll my phone to myself. 3 o'clock, it is not only very nearly in gridlock, but it also is dangerous because of the intersection, especially in East-Western Washington, which has right on red after stop, and people don't. You have an issue of whether buses would get the kids to school on time. You have an issue of pollution not only in the parking lot, but on the street, of idling vehicles. And frankly, I need to say this, you eliminate the soccer field, you're disenfranchising a very significant Hispanic community. You eliminate this community center, you are increasing crime in our people. A better job can be done by you. People have a great night.
How you doing? My name is Frank Peterson. I grew up in this community, used to live on Washington Avenue, so I do know that intersection of East-West and Washington. I'm here to speak about not necessarily the middle school, not necessarily the community center, but I'm here as a representative for the minority population in this community. And I'm glad to see everybody gathered here today to save the park and preserve our community. But I'm here every day. A couple of friends of mine are here every day. We're walking around cleaning up trash in the park. We're cleaning up trash in front of the community center. We're trying to make sure the kids have something other to do than get on Facebook. We're here trying to help them with their homework, create basketball teams for them. Okay? Nobody shows up but us. But everybody is here tonight to save the park. And as much as I love the park, and as much as we need the park, and as much as we say the schools are overcrowded, what about our performance in school? What about the minority community in this area? why aren't there something being done about bridging the academic achievement gap amongst our kids? Okay? We're trying to get a middle school program started right now so that the kids have something to do after school. We have no support. We have no support. So let's take this a step further and not only save our park, not only preserve our community, but preserve our African American children. Let's do that. They're going to the same schools every day with your kids. Come on, man, there's a bigger fight here. And I hope that everybody here today sees it, and I want to speak to it. And believe me, if you show up here tomorrow, you'll see 50 to 60 kids being mentored, being coached along to not just be athletes, not just do well in school, but to be productive citizens and strong men and women creating strong, healthy families to stay right here in this community and help it grow. Thank you.
My name is Ayana B. Wiley, and I've lived in this community for over 20 years, attending Chevy Chase Elementary School, attending Westland Middle School, graduating from UCC High School class of 99. And we love our community. We appreciate our community, not only the rec center, not only the park, but people pay good money to live in this area for these reasons. We pay to be in peace and quiet, not to have a team of construction workers outside of our window for the next 2 years, building, reconstructing a beautiful park, a beautiful location that we have that we take our kids to. You know, this park is used. As someone said earlier, it's not abandoned. It's not just sitting there with trash all over it. We use our park. We pay to use this park. We pay good money to live in this community. You know, not only that, but traffic at 3 and 4 o'clock, you can barely even make a left turn coming here off of Lanesville Road. It's hard enough to get out of my mom's complex, which is right next door to Claridge House at some mornings. You know, so why? So now we're going to talk about, next we'll be rebuilding the streets, reconstructing the roads. We have East-West Highway right here. This is a small, private, personal neighborhood, and we would like to keep it that way. We understand that the kids need a bigger school. Okay, let's look at some other locations, because obviously this is not the place for that bigger school. How would you like to live in these apartments right here, or the homes right here, that's directly affected by this 6 o'clock in the morning, every morning you come, boom, 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 boom. Nobody wants to hear that. We pay so much money to be in this neighborhood for all of that. And secondly, as an ethnic health promoter for Holy Cross Hospital, I do understand that those are 2 big issues for kids, childhood obesity as well as lack of sleep. That both of those issues begin in the household. You teach your children how to eat healthy, how to work out, give them extracurricular activities to do, and you also tell them when to go to bed. So parents, that's your job. Thank you.
First of all, thank you for the people who organize this. You do true public service. Thank you to the public officials who came today. These are hard decisions. You're put in a room full of people asking very challenging questions, so I appreciate your public service. That said, my husband was the one who said if you don't document, you didn't do it. Where is the documentation underlying the site selection report, and can you make it publicly available?
There is no more documentation than what you see in the report. These were conversations, as we explained. This is not an in-depth study of every site where we do what we would call a feasibility study. We look at the basic criteria with a bunch of stakeholders and some experts from different county agencies and get a site recommendation. But this is just the first steps, and then we do the feasibility study.
If in fact this is just a conversation and just the first step, exactly why did you not follow a public advisory board process and allow free and open hearings?
That I understand the concern about that. The site selection processes in the school system as well as the county government are conducted in confidentiality. No. And that sounds bad, I realize. That is because And anybody who's in the market for property has to be careful about disclosing that a private property may be a desired site in order to maintain the negotiating position. So it does result in people finding out late in the process of what's been going on, and I appreciate that is difficult for the community. At the same time, the school system has to preserve its ability to find the site and, if necessary, purchase it at a reasonable cost to the county.
I would just respectfully say that given that you were only considering public facilities, it was a gross error of due process to not have a free and open hearing. And I think that additionally, I would like to know what, if any, consideration was given to the disparate impact on low socioeconomic groups for taking away their parks. What if
As I said before, this was seen by the site selection committee at least, and the superintendent, as a good thing for this community. Realizing that you lose a field, you gain a middle school in your community, and for most people, that's considered pretty positive.
We'll get to move on, because we got 10 people, it's 9 o'clock, we promised the committee center we wrap up, and at the same time, we have 10 people who want to give them a chance. Please.
My name is Shannon Lewis. I live on Richland Place. I grew up in this community, I moved away, and I moved back. I want to say that like site selection committee, you mean people who are not from this community, number one. Number two, if they were from this community, they would know that that park is the heart and center. And this really seems like a class thing. And I'm sorry, but the people that live in those apartments don't have a voice. And that park is vibrant. I don't know what part of community that we're leaving out kids playing in a park and families in this park. Obviously, if anyone on your committee lived in this community, you know that park is filled with people, children chasing fireflies, birds singing. There's 200 trees in that park, families. And you know what? I lived in Manhattan for years. I lived in Paris. I have never lived in a more loving, diverse community than this community that has people of all socioeconomic groups, every race, every color, all kinds of people, and that part is the heart and the center of it. And I am so passionately opposed to this. I cannot believe that there's logic to, we can rebuild a park on an old middle school, as in Kensington site. Where's the logic in that? I mean, shouldn't we keep our parks? Shouldn't we value our communities? And not only that, this isn't Bethesda Chevy Chase. This is Silver Spring. And the thing that makes Silver Spring so much lovelier to some people than Bethesda Chevy Chase is it's so diverse.
Number 27, please.
I live on 2228 Richmond Street, exactly facing. And we have lived here for 32 years. Our children went to school to Rosemary Hills Elementary, North Cherry Chase School. Those children went to Westland and BCC. They end up to be doctors, filmmakers, and we chose this community 32 years ago. Most of the community centers in Chicago. It's a very diverse Maybe you're a young family here with young children, and you don't see that. But I have gone to law schools, different Montgomery County school system, at the end we won, and the reason we have these schools here is because we fought. We have to fight again, and it doesn't go, because we do have opposition, it's Chevy Chase, and it's that kind of situation. We have rolling wood legislation as a government now, and if I had it here, that people, that is legislation, I would state laws, they would open it. People talk about congestion, this is congestion. And tomorrow, I think it's Thursday, this is a very, very small space. We need leave, we cannot afford to lose this.
Number 28.
Socially disadvantaged economic kids who are growing up in Paddington Square, you know, from around the way. This is one of my buddies. Frank Peterson was another gentleman, you know, that's here daily, you know, very from being the son of an immigrant parent who came to this area from Brazil, immigrant father as well. Grew up Paddington Square, went to BE, Western Middle School, graduated when I was going to college, played sports. Now I'm an administrator at Woodrow Wilson Middle School, high school.